The ship's engine changed pitch suddenly, and before I could worry about it, the intercom binged with an announcement from the captain. "We're making a brief detour," she said. "A different courier didn't quite make it to their destination, and they need us to do the drop-off. Should be an easy one. Mur and Robin, you're next up." So I was. Dang. I'd thought I had some time before the next delivery, but it looked like reading in the crew lounge would have to wait. I turned back toward my quarters, leaving the sound of Telly purring under the heat lamp behind me. She'd probably still be there when I was done. I left my reading tablet in my quarters and hurried to the cockpit. Captain Sunlight was already talking to Mur while Kavli took us in for a landing. The view on the main screen was eye-catching. A nearby sun brighter than the captain's scales, and something exceptionally reflective on the barren landing pad. "Is that the other ship?" I thought, squinting. "Ow." Kavli muttered about manufacturing regulations and adjusted the screen's filters. The view dimmed, but not to the point where she couldn't see where to land. Mur huffed. "I don't trust the judgment of anyone who flies one of those." Several of his tentacles were crossed in irritation, with others tapping on the floor. "I have my reservations as well," said the captain, "but this delivery is both small and urgent, and they're offering a more than reasonable cut of their rates. I understand the item is farming supplies of some sort. Needed in a hurry." She glanced up at the view of the approaching landing pad. A figure in an exosuit waited outside the other ship. "Let's hurry to the airlock." We hurried. I had the easiest time of it, walking at my normal long-legged pace while Captain Sunlight trotted along with dignity and Mur was a whirl of tentacles. We made it there as the engines whined a landing. The nearest intercom beeped and Kavli's voice spoke from the single speaker. "Ready? Our contact here looks ready to hand over the item." Captain Sunlight pressed the button and spoke back. "Go ahead." On the other side of the door, air whooshed and the outer hatch opened. I peered over the captain's head to see somebody in an exosuit step inside, place a box on the floor, then run back outside and wave at us. The hatch closed while the captain made a thoughtful sound. Air whooshed again. Through the intercom, Kavli said, "They've transferred a good faith payment and another message to hurry. I've already scanned for known contagion. Grab it and I'll take off." When our door opened, Captain Sunlight strode in and picked up the medium-sized white plastic box, then carried it out into the hallway, checking every side for damage. A gust of cold air followed and the door slid shut behind her. Engine pitch said we were rocketing into space again. Good old artificial gravity meant I didn't have to give it a moment's thought. I could focus on the mystery item instead. "So how close is—" "Wait, is that a timer?" I asked as I caught a glimpse of a digital readout on the far side of the box. The numbers were awfully low. "Minutes." "Yes," said Captain Sunlight tersely. "Kavli is hurrying. We're going to land somewhere unofficial. Be prepared to hop down if there isn't a suitable landing pad and she has to hover." "Is it a farm?" I asked, thinking back to the earlier conversation. "Do we need exosuits?" Mur asked. That was a better question. Captain Sunlight shook her head. "No, the moon we're headed to has standard air. The first delivery ship crashed on one that doesn't. They almost reached the right one, then had a power failure. Assistance is some ways out." Mur wove his tentacles together in a new way that looked just as judgmental as the last. "Of course they had a power failure. They're lucky they didn't give that moon a new crater." "Their poor choice in transportation is not our problem," declared the captain. "This is." She handed the box to me. It was surprisingly light, though something slid inside when I tilted it to look at the timer. That was a really short amount of time. "What happens if we're late?" I asked. Mur scowled. "That had better not be one of those fertilizer bombs." "The client said specifically that it's not explosive," Captain Sunlight told him. "That's just what someone hoping to trick us into doing something dangerous would say," Mur replied. "They had a respectable rating. Well, respectable enough for someone with a delivery vehicle that breaks down if you look at it wrong. There's no way to look at it right." The intercom beeped. "Coming in for a landing," Kavli reported. "Farms and ranches as promised, with permission from the property owner to hover over the road in front of her house. Air and weather are good. Be ready to run." Captain Sunlight pressed the button with a look at us. "Ready." She stood to the side. Mur grumbled. "Do we really need 2 people for this? It's a 1-person carry." "Best to follow protocol," the captain told him. "And you get to catch it if she trips." "Hey, that happened one time," I objected. "This would be a bad time for twice." "Good point." Mur sighed dramatically but took a position next to me at the airlock. In moments the engines made their hovering but not landing whine, and both doors opened. Reddish dirt road, gray and yellow bushes, a domed house with ridges that looked like a seashell plopped on the ground, and several other fences and whatnot that I didn't have time to take in. There were seconds left on the timer and a long driveway to run down. As I tucked the box against my side and placed a hand on the doorstep, I felt the disturbing sensation of something moving inside of it. I jumped down and took the box firmly in both hands. It almost jumped out of my grasp. "Mursaw, it's moving." He leapt after me with a plop. "Is it a faulty auto-drill? Those are dangerous. Don't hold it too close to you." From the airlock, Captain Sunlight called, "Run!" I gritted my teeth, held it at arm's length, and ran towards the farmhouse. The sun reflected hot off the architecture. The wind in my face was hotter, and whatever was in the box jolted eagerly against the side. I desperately hoped that I wasn't about to get a drill through my hand. But the client was there on the front step waiting for me, a middle-aged Frillian woman wearing overalls that looked like they'd been a deep space jumpsuit once, cut to shape with gardening shears. Her frills were waving happily. Good sign. "Just in time," she declared as I skidded to a stop, holding the box with the timer toward her. She plucked it from my grasp. I caught my breath and tried not to look too relieved. Tentacles slapping dirt told me Mur had joined us. I focused on breathing evenly and wondering what the client was about to do with that knife. Without a word, she sliced the box open as easily as if it was cardboard and not industrial shipping plastic. That was some knife, but she didn't open it. She clapped a hand on the top to keep it shut while she sheathed the knife at her belt. With the way the box was jumping, I was impressed she hadn't cut her fingers. When she moved forward with purpose, I danced aside to let her pass. Mur scrambled out of the way. The client strode over to a fenced-in area that had mesh over the top, looking something like a large chicken coop. She bumped a latch with an elbow, opened a little door, then shoved the box through and dumped its contents onto the ground. Something round, brown, and furry tumbled free. Mur asked, "Is that an animal?" When it stopped rolling and stayed perfectly round, I said, "It looks like a coconut." It jumped some more, prompting Mur to guess again. "Is it an egg with fur?" The client just grinned at us, clearly enjoying this. I thought wildly of Mexican jumping beans back on Earth, and the larva that grew inside. Surely not. The thing stopped jumping and kind of wiggled in place, and I heard a scratching sound. There was a flash of motion on the far side of it. Amazed, I stepped to the side for a better look. The client joined me, and so did Mur. The three of us watched a small blue creature crawl out of a hole in the nut, then spread its wings for what had to be the first time. It looked like a feathery moth the size of a kite, with a row of crab legs along the front. The feathers shone iridescent blue in the sun. The client tutted beside me. "It's not ultramarine at all. Those liars. I'm going to tell everyone. What a waste. Just another blue." She tapped the wire mesh with a palm. "Hey, all, come meet your new friend." The bushes along the edge of the coop that I hadn't been paying attention to, the ones I'd subconsciously assumed were covered in big bluish leaves, exploded into a cloud of vivid blue wings. They swirled around the coop before coming to land on every available surface, fanning their wings in the sun. It was a glorious sight. "I really hope to breed some ultramarines," the client said with a sigh. "Oh well, maybe I can find a reputable seller next season. Thanks for the rush delivery. You've got a feather on you." "What?" I asked, but she was already plucking it out of my hair and handing it to me. "Keep it if you like. My stock is carefully screened for everything. Oh, and you've got, well, that's valuable stuff in some circles." She was talking to Mur now. I looked down to see my squid-like crewmate covered in a fine dusting of blue iridescence. A glance at the feather showed it to be trailing similar dust across my fingers. Mur said, "I shall take that under advisement." Then he began tentacle walking back toward the ship with as much dignity as he could muster. Normally I would have had the client sign for the delivery, but this one was a rush job without the usual paperwork. "You've been in touch with our ship, right? Got everything settled?" "Yes, I authorized the payment when you got here," she said. "Your pilot assured me all was well, and she was right." She glanced back at the coop full of blue. "Well, as right as can be. I should have known not to trust a breeder who flies that brand of ship." "Was that the actual person you bought it from?" I asked, thinking of the silver disaster. "Not another delivery company." She waved a hand. "He does a lot of things. Never sticks with any of them long enough to get anywhere. Like I said, I should have known. If it makes you feel any better, he's currently broken down on a cold moon with the repair services a ways out." She smiled. "That does make me feel better. Thank you. Now I must be off to warn everyone else not to believe that liar. And you should make sure your friend there gets all of that off. I'm told his species doesn't react well to it." "Good to know, thank you. I'm sure our medic will be all over it." The extra dust will brush off that easily enough, she told me, pointing at the feather. Goodbye. I said my goodbyes and more thanks and hurried after Myrrh. I carefully dusted off the feather as I went, leaving a trail of brilliant blue glittering in the breeze.